Welcome to yet another episode of Dynamic CIO Talk Show. We understand these are tough times. The year 2020 was unprecedented and it continues to surprise us halfway into 2021. The increasing usage of digital technologies in this time of crisis is not new. COVID-19 has turned the digital transformation from a nice to have requirement to a must have requirement for most organizations, forcing them to adapt and modernize quickly in order to keep their operations running, provide customer an experience they're looking for. Coming to the logistics industry, it recorded a compounded annual growth rate of 10.5%, and the country's logistics industry is projected to be $215 billion by end of 2022. Advancement in digital technologies, changing consumer preferences due to e-commerce, government reforms, and shift in service sourcing strategies are expected to lead the transformation of the Indian logistics ecosystem. However, embracing digitization has been one of the most pressing needs of the industry, which is further accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic. To discuss this, we have today Mr. V.S. Parthasarathy, fondly known as Partha, former President, Mobile Service Sector Mahindra Group, and member of the Group Executive Board at Mahindra Group, currently Independent Director, Allcargo Logistics, to discuss the heightened importance of digital transformation in the changed times. We'll focus on the mobility sector and the logistics sector. Welcome to the show, Partha, sir. I hope you're doing all fine and all safe. So without much delay, let's begin this conversation. And I have the pleasure, I am very privileged to have the pleasure to ask Partha sir so many questions, which I am sure he will be more than happy to answer. Starting with, so I just want to check with you now, March 2020, when the lockdown was announced, okay, and that's when the company started recalibrating with their technology, infra, try to realign with the phenomenon of work from home, the new normal as we call it. Digitization was the key to business resilience during this period, and the pandemic just accelerated it. How do you see this shift, and what is the important lesson learned by the industry?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, very happy to be on the show and very happy to once again have something with Smruti, being on the show. So I'm delighted as well, and to talk to all your constituents and your friends, colleagues out there. So first is your question is what happened when this whole thing happened? What are the lessons? Important lessons that we have learned? What is important to the business? See, what happened is one of the thing was that digitization was always important, okay? And we used to keep talking about it. We had norms like digitization and digitalization. So we coined up some terms and it was good exercise, but the change were gradual in coming. Now this pandemic said that digitization is not for tomorrow. It is not a gradual process. No, it is here and now. It is not tomorrow, it is today. So that I think is the biggest change that we made. So working from home meant you have to rely on digital. Closing your accounts from home, you have to rely on digital. Giving an order, picking up an order on the digital and sitting at home means digital. Managing your dealer network was digital, and so on. So you can keep talking. Every facet of business was managed digital. And that was the important thing. Second is, one big learning I had was ICE came into deeper focus. And what is ICE is that innovative companies will only survive in the face of climate change and experiential commerce. This is a note I had written. Now in this time it came out very clearly. That climate change, that whole cycle, the experiential commerce was coming into play, and we were learning to do it through digital, which is the innovative way of doing business. So this innovation in the face of climate change and experiential commerce was demonstrated, and the innovative companies stole a huge march during this time. So that's the big learning. The third learning is a very important one. We always had 4S in the mobility industry: smart, solution, sustainable, and shared. Okay, so we
and
said
the last one, what did you say?
Shared. shared mobility, meaning, this is fractional. This is a period of, full container load. Nahi, humko, some container load, but you accumulate everything and make a full container. If in a car, I am only one, so but can you get another two people and reduce my cost? So shared, per people mobility, shared goods mobility. So those were the four: smart, solution, sustainable, shared. The pandemic brought about that there is a fifth S you cannot forget: safe. So it became, along with it, the fifth S. Yeah. So safe. Be safe. I mean, provide safety as a big is not a good to have. Like you said, it's a must have. Like digitization, safety is must have. Okay. So I came out with a slogan called digitize or die. So industries will either digitize or die. So please be prepared and no more it is there. And what I really learned is that necessity is the mother of invention, as they say. This pandemic showed India Inc., all units of the economy performed in spite of not ever having done this before. This was like a real life drama. And there was a huge amount of synchronization to keep the economy, the business sticky. And last is, I learned reflect, reboot, resilient. That's the slogan of this whole thing. So you reflect on what's happening, reflect on importance of human life, and then you reboot. You say, no, this new system, and build your new business model on resilience. Those were my lessons.
Great. So I think it's, we can still keep discussing, but yeah, as we both, I think, agree that, yeah, we've changed from nice to have digitization to a must have digitization.
Yeah.
So
You
adding to what
summarized
you
it
said,
much better than I have actually.
sir, I started it. You actually explained it for me. I like the fifth S addition as well. Safe. I think that's a S which is added in all the industries, not just logistics and mobility, but I think all the industries. Adding to what you just said, how did this industry say? Because I'm focusing more on the mobility and the logistics. How do these organizations prepare for efficient delivery? Also, in terms of providing humanitarian aid during this pandemic.
Yeah. So it's a very, very important one. We have to first focus on something which is said first lives, then livelihood. So it's almost, that is the kind of the culture or the ethos that the entire supply chain and logistic and mobility industry had to take. So, and they became almost like frontline. Okay. And I jokingly say, we also started car seva, but it pun intended, because not unlike the sick car seva, which I'm very, very fond. I think it's a role model mechanism that they do, and we all can follow it. This car seva means, in trouble time, can I lend you my car free of cost to take you to hospital, bring you back? Yeah, provide a seva with my car. So it's car seva. So that is what they started, and I think it's not one level product. It's a very important one. Reaching things to people. So to say, hey people, here is a pandemic, here is a lockdown. Government has said it. You sit at home. We will be out in the street to deliver things to you, so that we will take some risks, so that you can be safe. So this is the industry as developed this ethos. And it was not only about, being a business or making money. It is about saying we are responsible for doing this humanitarian things. Whether it is, taking to the people to the hospital when they had COVID, when they had other emergency. There are many who said, I don't have COVID, but I still have to go to hospital. I have a baby to deliver, or I have some, emergency. So how do we take care of this? And that's all we did. And last one is last mile. That was great fun. You use many of the cars to deliver. When the people were not driving, then we were delivering goods out of the cars. So there was a surge, and we were able to balance this. So we do, and So we also, humanitarian is care starts at home. So we first said that as much as we want to be humanitarian to others, we should start at home and make sure our employees, our ecosystem has to also be safe. So we did many things for that as well, but we made sure, कहते हैं ना, कोई साधु ना भूखा जाए. So we ensured that the nation did not go bhuka. So that's what we did.
That was very good. But so adding to this again, what you just said about how the people were there on the streets to deliver for every emergency, delivering goods, ensuring people from one place to other. They actually are the kind of frontline workers which maybe are not getting the limelight. I know I personally would salute all the frontline workers, the doctors, the nurses, the civic bodies which are all there. Salute to them. They've been doing this for more than a year. But these are also these people who are there are also the one segment of frontline workers which is going totally unnoticed. But hiring saw an upsurge in this sector, especially for managing the e-commerce and e-commerce operations. How does one manage this growing workforce, assuring their safety, getting experienced people to work in this sector?
Yeah, very, very important and interesting question. Okay. First of all, let me say that I salute the frontline workers, whether it be our Jawans who protect our boundaries, or the doctors. Believe me, I had COVID, and the nurses, the treatment they gave. So I kind of think of them in a different light today than I thought. I don't think of them as nurses. I think of them as godmothers. Yes. So it's a very, very important thing, and as much respect as we pay is due to them. Okay. But you brought a very important point. What about people who are helping us, be there at the front line to make sure that the connect between goods and customer, so that is brought to by the logistics industry, by the mobility industry, by the connect between the destination and person is again connected by people. So how do we recognize them? And I think it's a very nice thing, and I want to salute all my colleagues all over the industry in the supply chain who have taken this effort and said, you are no less a front line to anybody. I and you both acknowledge that this is what we are, and we have to do the job. And why should there be an acknowledgement? First is we have to karmanye vadhikarasya. So let's do this. There are enough. The fact that you, Smruti, talk about it is good enough. And many others will talk. So this all will come. Today is our job is to make sure that the country runs seamlessly as it grapples with this pandemic. So that's broadly. So medical mobility became an important one. If it didn't, then so as much as you can give the injection, but first it has to reach, from the production.
Reach you, yeah.
So we have a huge task to do, and I think we are doing it as seamlessly as well as we can. And I talk on behalf of the industry rather than talking about one single company. Similarly getting food to people so that they can safely stay at home. Otherwise, the moment you saw what happened when curbs are lifted, then we went to our old ways, and then the second wave came. So it is important for us to be safe. Again, go back to that fifth S, and we will make sure that we put in. So it also means that we had to look at goods, where that's one area where we had to look at a lot of things. How do we do warehouse? We had to maintain this warehouse. There have to be people there, right? And those people had to act. They had to be in logistics. Physically drive from one place to another, deliver at last mile, and at sort centers where they can kind of many things are coming in Amazon and those kind of things, and then redirect them to this. So all these places, this is required. Your next part of question, which I'm going to spend a couple of minutes, is about said, how did you look at these people? Yeah, how did you manage these people? How do you manage this one? So first is, we said lives before livelihood. So that was the basic concept when he came in, saying we will want to make sure that everyone who works here has the absolute amount of protection and anything and everything that we can. There is no doubt that they have to put a little bit under risk. So how do we mitigate those risks to an extent that things can move forward, but at the same time provide their safe? It comes with that resurgence or resilience that force comes with. That's what we try to do. Rather than saying तुम्हें काम पे आना है, we question the as काम पे आ सकते हो क्या?
Okay.
Yeah? Okay. The second one is, what are the checks that we have to manage to safeguard them and safeguard their colleagues? Have you done all those checks which are there? Every 15 days, repeating tests so that they know they are safe. Okay. I'll come to when things go wrong. So then gearing up, saying, how do we gear up a particular unit? How do we then come in? And SOPs, standard operating procedures. How do we make that whole thing come up? I'll give you an example. What happens if a case or two are discovered in a particular center? So do we shut off everything? Do we ignore it? We can do neither. Yeah, but we have to stop till we safeguard our other people. So we have to do this whole thing a stop-start, and we not just educated our employee that's the right thing to do, we educated our customers. So when it didn't come, instead of asking that हमारा सामान क्यों नहीं आया, the customers asking, सब ठीक तो है ना? Okay, so this is a huge thing that we did. And support them. There are sometimes you will get COVID, right? So I mean, this is not something. And at that point of time, what do we do to support them, their family? How do we then bring back? How do we kind of say? We have to immediately say other peoples are not infected. So tracing, all these things we had to do in order to, we just can't ignore it even, right? So help the person. But then I have to take care of the ecosystem as well. All the other employees in that short center, it says contact tracing and says anyone has it. So even quarantine. Okay. And sometimes we have said we have to pay them also during this period because they want to come and work. But these are, exigencies. And how do we then make sure that they are motivated to come back later and work for that? So these are all the things that we did, Smruti, in order to kind of take care of them. And I think
which means, sir, just asking you a question. The new normal that we all talk about is just not about work from home or digitization. It includes, a very fine balance of ensuring that the ecosystem and the business is running with priority in mind, as you said, lives, not livelihood. Priority in mind of taking the safety of the workers. The new normal is that, I think, more than the digitization.
Absolutely. Some of us, white collar, and including me, I must confess, we have the luxury and, the benefit of sitting at home and working. So, all the curbs become easy. But when you have to, the medical forces and this, and which is why I said I salute, they have no option. They have to be there in the field, so to say, or even the vaccine givers today. They have to be there to give the vaccine, right? So and we have to provide the vaccine, reach the vaccine. So we are all got to be there. So we have to make sure that they're extra care on both fronts. One, to take care of them, and two, in the eventuality something happened, how do we make both happen? Ensure safety of them, the other crew members, but at the same time keep the whole machinery running. Otherwise, if it comes to a staff, then it will not reach, and the whole ecosystem will go for it. And I think you're not heard too much saying that we couldn't deliver A or we couldn't deliver B. There was no newspaper big item saying it couldn't be. So look at what digitization has achieved for logistics industry. Okay, and human digitization as well. Both.
Yeah, both. Great. So this wave, the pandemic wave that we have been talking about from 2020, the second wave, I believe, is even more deadlier and more devastating. So all of us, all companies, all industries made their plans in 2020. And so what do you think for the new 2021? We are still in the pandemic, which is more deadly, more devastating. Were the plans which were made in 2020 now redundant, or is it that they need more fine tuning?
Yeah. So this is a question I'll ask differently. did you learn when you had the first pandemic? So meaning, if you learned one thing, that tomorrow I don't know, that's what we learned, and then we say I made a plan, and is it valid? So I looked at it in a different way. Have you made scenarios and made provisions to adapt as things change? See, this is what digitization allows it, right? It allows you to see what input comes in and twist your output based on that. So, our business model has also got to change. And if we didn't and we made plans in a steady state, okay, chalo, ab to ho gaya, theek, let's go back to the old way. I think then those who made it must be repenting reasonably heavily. But thankfully, they are not in majority. I think most of them calibrated and said that we want to have two scenarios. Okay, to be simplistic. One is pre-COVID, pre-vaccine and post-vaccine. So they said, okay, the planning was saying till the vaccination is not done to a reasonable amount of population, we will deem it to be a pre-vaccine and therefore we have to adapt. Post-vaccine, there'll be a new world, but what it will be, we won't tell now. But we'll be prepared that it will be close to the normal, old normal. Okay. There'll be new processes, but the old normal in terms of production, capacity, demand, all could come. Okay. So that's how I think many of them planned, and rightly so. And I would kind of do those who are, and we have to see. I don't want a third wave. Yeah. But and certainly I wish if it comes, I'll go to Shirdi or Tirupati, whichever. Yeah. Is the Devta of this, and I think we'll all be very relieved. But I don't want business plans to be made assuming that now we are in an all okay. We have to be resilient to everything that comes in, but we also have to be calibrated in our planning. Okay. So therefore, if at all I'll plan like scenario planning. And then so that's how I look at it. Yeah, and that's what I think industries will look at.
Okay. Now that digitizations will shift gears as we move ahead, what according to you should be some of the changes that industry leaders need to anticipate? What should they be prepared for? You, as you said, two scenarios, etc. But what you think should they be prepared for, or what you would anticipate the future?
Yeah. So just looks at today. This time we had Akshaya Tritiya. Okay, and for the uninitiated like me, I would like to explain to myself that this is a time when your spouse looks forward to bringing a piece of jewelry which it brings, I think, prosperity to the house or whatever. It's very auspicious, right? So now online, there is no other option except online right now because the nation is in a lockdown.
Correct.
So digitization is the only way the business can be done there. Now, as we go forward, the changes which will come is more and more that norm need not be lost. Okay. I even still say that we need to be focused on the second point, which I'll come to. But for a minute, think about this, that don't lose out that the next Akshaya Tritiya, let us still have 70% of sales on digital. And if we kind of do, that's the kind of change we should anticipate and we should help to. Because we do, then the productivity goes up many-fold, and both for the customer and for the seller, it brings a huge benefit. Okay, so this is one change. The second one is the business movement will come. Change will be business movement will bring long-term. This was an accident. It shows what happens to what all could change and how digital can fix each of these problems. Okay, so now focus on those business movements which are to come. So more and more industries will focus on how Amazon became the e-commerce and except from a bookseller, how they became an insurance unit from a bookseller. So they will, more and more industry will think about this. Yeah, auto, AI and others will become more important. The second is focus on ICE. I told you about ICE, climate change and experiential commerce. The change is every industry needs to think, how will climate change impact me? And how will experiential commerce impact me? And how can digitization help me solve both the problems as much as possible? So using the third one, I would say every industry needs to think. Three terms I use: be digital, think digital, bond digital, or think digital, be digital, bond digital. The think digital comes from when you are starting a new activity in a traditional company. Think how you can do it in digital rather than analog or on traditional methodology. Be digital is when you are starting a new activity, then start with a view that everything, first I will have an app, then I will have everything else. Okay, build an app based process, not an app based process. Okay, so change the dynamics. And bond digital is if you're starting a company, please only plan to be a digital company. Yeah. And it may be a manufacturing company, and don't say that e-commerce is only digital. That's the most basic way of defining.
Notion.
Every industry is a digital industry. Yeah. So it's like Intel inside. Digital is the Intel, new Intel. Yeah, inside every company. Then I say the future is also changes will be that AI, MI, yeah, BCI, INDI. So what it means is AI, artificial intelligence. The second MI is machine intelligence. BCI is business continuity intelligence. So manufacturing intelligence, and industry 4.0 is industry intelligence. So there will be intelligent units of all our ecosystem. And that is what will change. And we will move towards that. The industry 4.0, the artificial intelligence, the what is called as BCI, what I was thinking was, what is the other one that trading platforms that will come, and I'm forgetting the word for it. So those are, and everything, so all these changes will happen. Okay, so this is the new.
Sir, I mean,
yeah.
You put it in such a simple way, the new things that after just a very short conversation, the 5S, the I's, the B, I don't know, personally, and I think for everybody, even this community and anybody looking at this from other way, thinking to start a new business, be digital, think digital, born digital. I think it really, helps us understand what is the roadmap for the future. Before I end, I would want to ask you a personal question now, if you may allow. I'm sure a lot of people who know you have this question. Are you firming up for the next move, or shall we have to wait?
So when I was kind of thinking about the change, it was what prompted me to do was a statement which said, follow your heart, stop caring about what others think. Okay, so this was a journey when I have gas in the tank to make a social impact in the next innings. That was the thing. And I've in fact posted on LinkedIn and Facebook, okay, about what I've done on the next steps. What I've done on the next steps. And thankfully, the social side, which is rural women livelihood, empowerment and employment, is very much on. And I've already started making great progress. Okay. All of the parts have not come. So because the production has started, okay, as if you say the movie analogy, release date is yet to be announced. Okay. So all I can say, this is a time when you make haste slowly. You have the option to kind of restart, and therefore you'll calibrate and think about it and start and make haste slowly. And then all I can say, picture abhi baki hai mere dost, milte hain break ke baad. So I will tell you more about it. But that avatar will have huge amount of digital aspects that I have known. So even
thank you so much, sir. I guess all of us will await the release date now. Thank you so much. And thank you for sparing your time and all your inputs. Thank you. And on behalf of Dynamic CIO, I would like to thank you.
Thank you.